So The Fall Guy, this is a brand new film from director David Leitch, which is loosely based off the 1980s television series, which is about stunt performers. And
Mhm.
we've been hearing about this movie for quite some time, at least a year now, really sort of in the marketing and the lead up to Barbie. I think is the first time that I remember seeing promotional materials for The Fall Guy, obviously just because of the Ryan Gosling connections. And this
Mhm.
is being positioned as a big budget summer tentpole blockbuster film. The movie was actually originally supposed to come out later this summer, but once Deadpool and Wolverine moved off of this first weekend of May date, Universal Pictures decided to go ahead and take that spot, just knowing that it's typically a big weekend to sort of kick off the summer. But obviously, this movie has a lot going for it. David Leitch, a very well respected director at this point, who had a long career as a Hollywood stunt performer. If people don't know, he was playing the longtime stunt performer and was sort of the double for Brad Pitt and developed a
Mhm.
really, really keen relationship with him. He also co-directed at least the first John Wick movie and kickstarted that franchise, which has been sort of handed off to Chad Stahelski, a close friend of his. And he's also coming off a Bullet Train, which came out a couple of years ago. I know, a movie that we both really, really enjoyed when that hit theaters. And so we got a chance to go check out The Fall Guy this past weekend. And so with all of that out the way, man, I will pass it over to you. What do you think about this new film starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt?
Fall Guy, Fall Guy, Fall Guy. Man, I had a blast with this movie. To be honest, there was something about it that I think I just love movies about movies, and that is one part of what this film is. The Fall Guy really is about this guy. He's a stuntman. He's in love with one of the people who's a camera operator. He ends up getting hurt, and he's forced to go back on set. And now the once camera operator is now the director. And in between that time, they fell out. They're not together anymore. All this and that. And I think one movie is stronger than the other. One movie is a romance film. It is a rom com. The other movie is this action thriller thing that is trying to kind of showcase what stunt work is in yeah. And so I think I fell in love a little bit more, to be honest, with the rom com side of the movie. There's just something about Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling together that I like. They're funny. I think I love their chemistry. It wasn't always like 100%, but it was like 90. You know what I mean? It was like still really good for me. It all was fun and funny. Anytime they were on the screen was a good time. The stunt side of things, I liked mostly. The only thing I did not like about it is they tried to put a whole story arc to it. And that story arc fell by the wayside like completely to me. I was like, I really didn't care about the story that they tried to put with that part of the movie, with the stunt part of the movie. But what did work was the showcase of what stunt work is. There are so many cool action moments that they want you to look and see this is what stuntmen do. And I think that's what I'm saying when I say I like movies about movies, because it's kind of Inception by the way of like, look, guys, this is a movie about stunts, but then they were putting real stunt people in the movie doing real stunts, making it look cool, and they were highlighting it though. It's so interesting that the way they did it, because usually you watch a movie, an action film, you're like, oh, that was crazy. But here, you're almost forced to use your eye to like say, oh, that was an interesting stunt. You see the way they did this thing? Did you see the way they did that thing? So it was kind of cool, I think, being able to take apart some of those action set pieces that were embedded within the movie. I think Ryan Gosling has so much charisma. It's kind of crazy how much charisma the dude has. He absolutely carries this film. Like without him, this movie would not exist. Like he is the movie. He's funny. He's charismatic. There's a very popular thing happening in the movie with Taylor Swift's music that people really like. That I did also like. It just kind of works. Like Ryan Gosling is just a really good actor, and he's also kind of been not even easing. He's been doing action a lot recently. Blade Runners and the what was the name of that one movie on Netflix?
The Gray Man.
The Gray Man. Like the dude has really been even Nice Guys is actiony. You know what I mean? So Ryan Gosling has kind of been molding himself into an action star He's been doing it for a while, but it's funny because he always do like a La La Land in between or something else in between. And I think people forget that he's an action star, but Fall Guy is like, look, I can do both. So I love how like this is almost like a movie made for him too. He's kind of the best of both worlds when it comes to rom-coms and action things. And so I really like that part of the film as well. So overall, man, I actually really enjoyed The Fall Guy. I thought it was funny. It had me laughing more than a lot of other pure comedies do have me laughing, and I really enjoyed the action. I just wish they maybe, I don't know what they could have done, maybe forego the whole, maybe make the action piece not its own storyline, maybe embed it within the rom-com itself. Maybe that would have helped me a bit, but that part of the movie was just like, this, I don't know what this is doing. But other than that, man, I had a pretty good time watching Fall Guy.
So with the Fall Guy, there's a lot working in its favor. You have two of the most beloved stars in Hollywood collaborating on this movie. I think everybody sort of just unanimously loves Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. They just don't turn in bad performances, and they're very rarely a part of bad movies. These are two actors who know how to pick their performances and know how to pick their projects. David Leitch has proven himself time and time again with some really, really extraordinary action films. Everything from Bullet Train, which came out, but also Atomic Blonde, which was also spectacular, kickstarting the John Wick franchise. I mean, the guy is really, really good. He knows his craft, and the fact that he's making this movie is sort of a culmination, I think, of his life's work, to being a stuntman for so long in Hollywood to then transitioning to a director, which is becoming more commonplace. We're seeing that, with him and Chad Stahelski kind of being the champions of this particular art form and highlighting it in the ways that they do, respectively. It's a really, really cool thing to see, because this is all happening in addition to a lot of the conversations swirling around the Academy Awards, like should there be a stunt category? And I mean, so much so that they put that particular subject in this movie. But it has so much that's going for it, and it has a great budget. Universal Pictures is also a great studio partner. They're really on fire right now. So there was a lot to look forward to with this movie, and for me, it mostly delivered a really, really good time. It mostly gave me the feeling of a summer blockbuster movie that you want to experience in a big, auditorium with a lot of strangers, just watching a really, really entertaining film. I think the thing that works the best for it is the fact that it does feel so much like a throwback to 80s action films, films
Yeah.
that largely just don't get made anymore, or they're not made in the same way anymore, just because of the advent of CGI technology and visual effects, and how much that's really dominated summer tent poles and big budget blockbuster pre-branded franchise IP driven movies. We don't really get these real stunts as often as we used to, when all of those tools and toys just was not at the disposal of the filmmakers. They had to really figure out how to do most of this stuff. We're going to do a 60-foot car jump. Oh, well, we have to do it for real because there's no other way. Oh, we have to set somebody on fire. Yeah, we have to figure out a way to do that, but do it safely. And I think safety is obviously a huge concern with stuntmen and stunt people and stunt women in the industry. And one of the unfortunate things that I think happens in real life is when we hear about the passing of stunt people and when we hear about tragic incidents and accidents. And I think one element of this movie that I enjoy and appreciate so much early in the film is that we highlight the dangers of what it
Yeah.
means to be a stunt person in Hollywood. That is a
Mm-hmm.
key integral component to this story, and I just love that we hone in on that very early in this movie, because it is a dangerous profession. They are putting their lives on the line, and I think that that's like very, very important to David Leitch and other directors like Chad Stahelski, to just showcase like safety it goes beyond just like safety protocols. Like, it's a way of life for them. They have to consider that in every single move. And when you have these stunt people doing these incredible acts of just, I mean, it's like wizardry, some of the stuff that they pull off. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. It's like, wow, they're some of the best professionals in the world when it comes to filmmaking. All of that stuff, the love letter aspect that they are doing to stunt people in the stunt community in Hollywood is amazing. I think that just like
Mm-hmm.
that being a part of the ilk and the essence of the movie. I think one of the drawbacks for me, it's somewhat related to your point, but I think it kind of speaks to just kind of the conception of the movie in general.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, they're amazing, and this movie relies on them heavily, like
It does.
heavily. They are putting this whole thing on their shoulders, and maybe rightfully so. I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
extremely talented, and they both have proven time and time again that they're capable, more than capable. But I think when you do that, many of the other components and elements to the movie just kind of fall flat. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
supporting characters, some of those subplots that are in the movie, they don't necessarily work out that great. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson's really good. I love that he's
Yeah.
like going for this like faux Matthew McConaughey role in this movie. He's doing his best impersonation, this accent. He's really wonderful, but I was a little disappointed by the presence of a Winston Duke or a
Yeah.
Stephanie Sue, who's maybe in the
Mhm.
movie for like 7 minutes. And it had me wondering, like,
Mhm.
well, why is she even in this movie? Like, you probably could have gotten anybody to be her role. She obviously can do a lot more. We've seen the lengths that she can go from a dramatic standpoint, from a comedic standpoint. She's so
Mhm.
talented. And I just felt like she was underutilized here. Even Hannah Waddingham, who I love. I mean,
Mhm.
she's extraordinary in Ted Lasso. She did some cool things here, but I don't think it was as interesting as it could be. So I think that that's just like one of the drawbacks when you have just two charismatic actors, really carrying this movie. Many of the other elements, including some of the stuntman subplots that are in there, the story that's kind of
Right.
driving that particular story along, they don't really work. But when you do get those rom-com elements, when you get that love story, which is it's a bit chopped up and it's sort of sparsed out away in the movie that doesn't always feel cohesive. I felt like
Mhm.
there could have been a little bit more consistency in that story. But what it is there, that is like one of the more enjoyable elements because you get to see Ryan Gosling go to so many different places and so many different levels. He gets to be vulnerable and emotional. Emily Blunt can kind of be, more stern and be the leader and kind of be the parent of the group. That stuff is like really, really good between them. Last thing that I'll just point out, the action sequences themselves, for the most part, there was a lot of really good stuff. There was a boat sequence that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
There's a huge car jump sequence that takes place that's really, really cool. There's a car chase that was probably the one sequence that kind of let me down. A big car chase sequence like right in the middle of the movie. Ryan Gosling is trying to like make it somewhere. He has like to be somewhere at a certain time. That particular sequence, it was fine. The best part about it was a needle drop that they had in the movie. It was Phil Collins needle drop that I just loved. That was like the best part for me.
Fire.
It was great. It was great how they deployed that. And they also make a ton of references to other movies. I mean, to your point about movies that are about the making of movies, this movie knows that it's a movie. They talk about Last of the Mohicans. They reference Miami Vice. They reference Rocky. They go all over the place to make references. I mean, even the opening of the movie has footage from other movies about stuntmen, and stunts that have been
Mhm.
performed in Hollywood history. So a lot of great stuff to like here. It doesn't necessarily hit every single beat that it could, but definitely I think one of the more enjoyable films that have come out recently, and it certainly did not waste the talents of Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. They are certainly the showcase here. They're highlighted tremendously. Both of their strengths are played up in the best ways possible, and I think largely delivers like one of the more enjoyable summer blockbusters that you'll probably see this upcoming summer. But folks, with all of that said, those are all of our thoughts on the brand new Universal Pictures movie, The Fall Guy. If you've checked this out, hit us up and let us know what you think.